What's up, y'all? It's your boy Rotimi, and you're watching the Jonathan Desvaney Gospel Channel. Yeah, man. Mr. Butterscotch approved. Love.
Thank you. Thank you. We have already been blessed by this service. May be ashamed to spoil it with a politician. But you can relax. I haven't been in office in a long time. I've almost forgotten what I'm supposed to do. Bishop Blake is, as many of you know, like me, a native of Arkansas. My presidential library is on the river across a bridge, a short bridge from where he was born. So I have followed his life, work, and career with great admiration. I was in Los Angeles before you had such fancy digs. And I have noticed that you did not just move into your fancy digs, you also helped to develop the whole area. Something you should be very proud of. I want to thank the people who came with me today. Thank you, Congresswoman Maxine Waters, and thank you, Sidney Williams, and thank you, Congresswoman Karen Bass. Thank you, Attorney General Kamala Harris. Thank you, former Congresswoman and Ambassador Diane Watson. Thank you for being here, and thank you, Yvonne Braithwaite-Burke. Thank you to Angela Bassett and Courtney B. Vance and their budding photographer son, and thank you to Cookie and Magic Johnson. You know, Magic Johnson and I are longtime friends, and I almost didn't recognize him. He's lost so much weight. I hear that he's going to try to make a comeback in the NBA. I want to thank Mark Ridley Thomas of the LA Board of Supervisors and everybody else. I will be very brief. This has been a long political season. Many things have been said in this season which would have been better left unsaid. But it's a strange time. Eight years ago, we had this terrible, terrible financial crash. It was the worst since the Depression. It wiped out trillions of dollars in wealth. People by the hundreds of thousands lost their homes, and by the millions lost their jobs. And we have been in a struggle to come back from that. We now have the jobs back. We have 90% of our people with health insurance for the first time. Under President Obama's leadership, we saved our automobile industry. We have 900,000 new manufacturing jobs. We have all these positive things happening. For all of our continuing challenges, we're the best positioned big country in the world. We've had more jobs, and we're younger and more diverse in our workforce. And having lost it, I can tell you, when it comes to economics, youth does matter. And we are young and diverse, and it matters. We have the best science and technology base. We have the best education and training. We just have to make sure that all our young people can graduate from college debt-free, and that those that have debt can pay it off without being bankrupt. We have to do that. But looking forward, I'd rather be an American than a member of any other country on earth because of what we've got. Now, why are we all so mad? Because 80% of the people after inflation still haven't gotten a raise since the crash. And because a lot of young people can't even move out of their parents' home because their college debt is so great. And because a lot of people in these areas that are ravaged by prescription drug and heroin abuse believe the lives of their communities will never be good again, and believe they have failed their children, failed to give them brighter horizons than they have. So we're living in a time when there's all this good news and quite a bit of continuing trouble. And if you look around the world, it's happening everywhere. Slow growth, stagnant wages, rising inequality, declining upward mobility, people scared in Europe of immigrants. In Africa, the 6 of the 10 fastest growing economies in the world, and 3 big terrorist groups, often going on right by side. In Asia, rising countries in Southeast Asia, China's in trouble. A lot of pressure from China on the little guys. You can see this everywhere. In Europe, a lot of countries saying, maybe we don't want to be democracies anymore. It's a lot of trouble letting people vote. It's a lot of trouble herding people together that are different. And there's that pesky old press. Just get rid of it. This is going on everywhere. There is a battle for the future over whether the promise or the problems will dominate our thinking. That's why, to the Madam Singer, I love the hymn you sang today, because it's easy to get scared and choose the easier wrong path. That's what the whole election's about. Do you believe we can have shared prosperity like you're trying to create all around this church? If we did what you've done here, if we did it everywhere in America, could we reduce inequality? Could we restore upward mobility? Could we help bring people back from the depths of despair? I believe we could. That's why Hillary wants to be president. She said, we can't leave people out and leave them behind. Do you believe inclusive prosperity, or do you believe, what's that slogan, make America great again? Now, for the young people here, you got to be a certain age to understand that's a code saying. It means way more than what it sounds like. That means, hey, put me in there and I will make the economy the way it was for you 40 or 50 years ago. In other words, America wasn't so great for everybody 40, 50 years ago, including the parents and a lot of the people in this great congregation. Second problem with that is they can't do it. I see all these attractive young people and I think, boy, I'd like to be 20 again. Just to see what's going to happen. Wouldn't you, Bishop? Just to see what's going to happen. But it ain't going to happen. So we have to decide, are we going to try to promise people a past that can't be achieved and wasn't so hot for people? Or are we going to create a future of shared prosperity where we live in the same community and relish our diversity, and where we are citizens together building a whole new chapter of greatness? Is it about the future or a past? Is it about unity or division? And what about this pesky old world out there? Are we going to wake up every day and look at it with bridges or walls? And That's the whole deal. I believe that from the time the first human beings rose up on our planet, they have been on a journey. For those of us who have faith, we believe they've been on a long journey seeking God. There is a reason in the African American church funerals are called homegoings. Life is a journey that you expect somehow to bring you back to where you began, but with greater understanding, greater appreciation, and a staggering amount of wonder and joy along the way. We can't live that life as a country if we choose walls over bridges, if we choose division over unity, if we choose past over the future. When this country was started, the founding fathers were no dummies. They knew slavery was wrong and hoped one day their successors would get rid of it. So they left a system that was flexible enough to change, but solid enough to preserve our liberties. And they said our goal will always be to form a more perfect union. Nobody has ever found a way to do that unless you widen the circle of opportunity, deepen the meaning of freedom, and strengthen the bonds of our common humanity in our community. Communion. Now look, I haven't exactly made a speech for my candidate because I believe that you pick the candidate based on what you think your citizen responsibilities are. All I know is when I met her in law school 45 years ago, it was a pretty big deal for a woman to be in a law school like that. What did she do with the big deal? She worked on legal aid for poor people. She spent an extra year in the Yale Child Study Center figuring out what could be done to help abused and neglected children. She went to work in Washington to help farm workers. And I thank them in California for helping her now. And she went to Texas to register people who'd been systematically shut out of the political system for 100 years. And when she got out, she went to work for Marion Wright Edelman of Bennettsville, South Carolina, and the Children's Defense Fund, and went to South Carolina to figure out how come 13 and 14-year-old African-American boys were being put in prison with adults and kept for years and having their lives ruined. And filed a report, and they began to change that. The gutsiest thing she did was go to Alabama. Long after segregated schools were supposed to be illegal, but they were thriving under the guise of private academies. That is, they'd set up these allegedly private schools that were in effect open to the public because they were subsidized by tax credit. And Hillary went to Dothan, Alabama in 1973 and pretended to be a housewife who wanted to enroll her precious little boy in an all-white school. So after going there, it took a lot of guts back then, folks. Those of you have to be a certain age to know this. So she talks to this guy, and finally she said, "Look, sir, let's just cut to the chase here. Just tell me yes or no. If I put my son in your school, will it be an all-white school, yes or no?" He said, "Absolutely." She had him. They lost their tax exemption. All the schools lost their tax exemption. And Alabama began the long, slow road back to decency and a shared future. What's that got to do with this? Spending a lifetime as a change maker is a pretty good indicator of what you will do if you get another chance. Now let's go way into the future. When I was president, we had a terrible problem, which I bet, Bishop, you see here. We had too many children in America stuck in foster care, and no one would adopt them. And they were at risk of aging out. That's the term of art. That is, turning 18 without any education, any training, any housing, no place to go, no way to live. We wanted to do something about it. Hillary thought of the best thing of all. We had a Republican Congress. They weren't too big on this kind of stuff. So she went to the Republican leader, Tom DeLay, and she said, I know we don't agree on much. He said, do we agree on anything? Oh, she said, oh, yeah. You love your children. He said, come on, Hillary, what's that got to do with anything? She said, look, Congressman, you can say whatever you want about us. I know you adopted those children, and I honor you for it. And you got to know that the foster care rolls of this country are exploding. And people are afraid to adopt children when they're not infants anymore. They're afraid they can't influence them. They're afraid to adopt children if they have physical or mental special needs. They're afraid they can't afford it. These kids are like your kids. We can't leave them alone. And you need to help. And she said, I know you're a Republican. Let's give people a big tax cut if they'll adopt a kid who's not an infant. A bigger one if they'll take a child with special needs. And then we've got to spend something because some of these kids are going to age out anyway. What do you say? He did it. They passed the bill. All I had to do was sign it. There was an 80% increase in adoption of children out of foster care. She always makes something good happen. That's what you want in a president in a time when we're choosing every single day between the promise and the peril of being thrown together in new and unpredictable ways. Every day, in every country in the world. So that's what I want to say. I could give you my job speech, my community development speech, I could give you all this stuff. But I'm just telling you, she's the only person that put down $30 billion on the table that would help both this part of Los Angeles and those coal miners in Appalachia who don't like the president and her and me anymore because we want to do something about climate change. And she sent me down there to tell them, I don't care whether you vote for us or not. If she wins, she's coming back for you because you have the same right every other American does to make a better future for your kids. So that's what you all have to decide. Are we going to do this together or be divided? We're going to create a big future and put everybody on the escalator to reach it, or fight over a small pie. What matters more anyway? What does it mean to form a more perfect union? Did the good Lord really make us all equal or not? When all these scientists found out that, after I spent $3 billion of your money so we could sequence the human genome, you know what the most important thing they found out? We are all 99.5% the same. That is, if you look around this vast, wonderful cathedral, every single difference you see that is not age-related, what your body shape is, what the color of your skin is, what the color of your eyes are, everything you can see is rooted in 1/2 of 1% of your genome. In other words, God made us just different enough to keep life interesting. But knowing we were prone to arrogance and foolishness, He made us alike enough to keep us from wiping each other out and giving us a chance to build a common future. That's what we're up against, folks. People have a right to be mad everywhere in the world. A lot of dreams have been broken. A lot of lives have been frustrated. But you're in a place today where you are taught every single solitary week to choose answers over anger. To live for results, not resentment. To believe in wholeness, not division. I ask you to go and vote on Election Day if you haven't already, and to be there in November, because your country finally has the chance. I think the president's done a way better job than he often gets credit for. I think we got a chance now. I think we have a chance now. A chance we have not had in such a long time to all rise together. To restore that sense that tomorrow can be better than today. To reduce inequality, to create opportunities for people. We're not going to do it looking backward instead of forward. We're not going to do it trying to tear people up instead of bringing them together. We're not going to do it trying to live behind walls instead of build better bridges. I think you know what to do, and I hope you'll do it. God bless you all.